best chance of success, at least initially.
I'm curious about competitors out there. There's an FDA advisory committee meeting on the Eli Lilly Alzheimer's drug coming up in early June. The Lilly drug, though, has been delayed amid concerns about its unusual trial design. I'm wondering how important you think this advisory committee is going to be.
Yeah, some people don't want any ride across the
advisory
street.
committee.
They get out. Hell no.
That's right. And experts, and certainly the FDA uses them to help guide their decisions. Let me tell you about the approach that's typically taken at this point in Alzheimer's disease. The targeting of beta amyloid, which is this protein, this misfolded protein, this sticky protein, if you will, that's responsible or partly responsible for Alzheimer's disease. It's a complex story, and while the existing therapies have shown slowing of progression, there are lots of side effects and there's toxicities associated with it, and it's only a mild slowing of progression over a period of time. The advisory committee will do their best. They know that there's a huge unmet need and patients are in desperate need and their families are in desperate need. So they're doing the right thing, and the FDA advisory committees are also doing the right thing. Everyone is trying to come together to protect patients, but also to make sure that the treatments that they do approve and that they keep on the market are safe and efficacious as well.
Hey, I do wonder, I'm sure you've seen in 60 Minutes, Dr. Ali Rezai, and basically using ultrasound to help in the penetration of drugs for whether it's Alzheimer's, also addiction. And I do wonder whether that is something that might need to be paired with what you are doing.
Sure. So people in the past have looked at the mechanisms of trying to enhance the penetration of drugs into the brain. What you typically find in Alzheimer's disease is that the blood-brain barrier is somewhat leaky,
Right.
which means that drugs that normally would not have crossed or in a normal healthy individual may cross in patients with Alzheimer's disease. But I think the most central thing to understand is we target inflammation, and if you can modify inflammation in the periphery, in your blood, that actually regulating the cells in the central nervous system in the brain. Because the immune cells can move back and forth from the periphery.
The only other big bridge I've been on was that in Charleston.
We don't manipulate the
but it's the longest one right here.
There are also issues or possible toxic effects by trying to make the blood-brain barrier more penetrant or drugs in the periphery.
Well, I just, it was something top of mind for me. I spent some time talking to Dr. Rezai at Milken, and one of the speakers. So I hope you will come back. I know phase 2 trials, once you guys know a little bit more, I hope you will touch base again, because this is obviously something on the mind of a lot of us. And as you said, you've had personal experience, and we certainly all have personal experience with that as well. So I hope you will come again. Howard Berman, Chairman CEO of Coya Therapeutic, joining us right there.
And let's get a check on the latest world in national news.
Yeah.
New York to Washington, D.C. for a check on news with Amy Adams. Amy Morris, excuse me.
I'll be Amy Adams. It's perfect. Thanks, Tim. After 4 days of intense questioning, the testimony from Michael Cohen has ended. The prosecution has rested its case against Donald Trump in his criminal hush money trial. Trump's defense attorneys said they only have 2 brief witnesses and may rest their case today. Now, if they do that, that means, of course, Trump will not be testifying. We're watching that for you. The prosecutor at the International Criminal Court of The Hague wants to issue arrest warrants for Hamas leaders and Israeli officials, including Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The White House says that is, quote, outrageous. Prosecutor Karen Khan on those specific charges.
Crimes include starvation of civilians as a method of warfare, willfully causing great suffering, serious injury to body or health, or cruel treatment, willful killing or murder, and intentionally directing attacks against a civilian population.
President Biden released a statement saying that, quote, there is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas. We will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. Republican Senators Ted Cruz of Texas and Katie Britt of Alabama introduced a bill that would require states to allow IVF as a condition of receiving federal Medicaid funding. Both Cruz and